Welcome back to Let's Talk Careers with Miss V. I'm so excited to bring another incredible guest. Today's topic is all about helping national UAE students on that journey towards career empowerment. We are meeting with Ahmad Abu Shaikha, who is the CEO and co-founder of Univer. Welcome to Let's Talk Careers, Ahmad.
Thank you, Maria, for the nice introduction and happy to be with you again.
Excellent. It's so great to have you back with me. And this time we're talking about a really specific focus. And in anything that we do with Let's Talk Careers, we are going to be talking about those post-secondary pathways, definitely going to be jumping in on career development and career preparedness for young people. But I think before we do any of that, Ahmed, I want to take you back to when you were a younger teenager. I know that you tried to work in economics and that finance field, which was the major that you chose at university. But if I could take you back even further to being a teenager, around the age of the students that you probably work with today, how did you know what you wanted to do, or did you?
Well, actually, maybe coming from a government school, which is, I would say, the case for many national students, either in UAE or across the Arab countries, we didn't really have that opportunity, as I would say, in maybe private or international schools, to have that mentorship and the guidance about how we should think about our future and where we would like to be. So it was a matter of, if you are lucky by chance to have a mentorship or like a guest speaker at the school, which was very rare at our schools. But I did kind of dream from that time. I wanted to be my own boss, and I knew it will take time. And choosing the economics and finance at the university, also it wasn't kind of really an option, if I would be honest here. Again, similar to many Arab countries, there is that competition for high school students when they finish high school, and based on their GPA, they will be placed in one of the kind of shortlisted programs. But yeah, I mean, uh, I think for me and for many other people like me, uh, the career that we are in today after 10 or 15 years post-secondary, it just came by learning, trying different fields of business and maybe studies through some training programs and whatever, and then finding our passion, and this is how I kind of continued on where I am today.
I really appreciate that you're saying this right now because that's definitely what brought me on the journey is trying to change how things were for young people way back when. I think that development process is really important. Is that what made you decide, you know what, I want to dedicate my career to helping the youth?
Absolutely, yeah. This is was the main reason for me to think that I would like to help people to think better, think out of the box, and prepare well for their future. As I said, this was my own problem. I didn't have any kind of support, any guidance in the school or out of the school, and this is still, unfortunately, the same case for thousands or even maybe millions of students in the Arab countries and around the world. So we wanted to, as a company, as a Univer, and Ahmed as a person, we wanted to help as much as we can the community, and to give the resources that we can, share the experience that we have gained throughout the years, to help people uh, consider different options. And sometimes, I mean, when we say post-secondary, sometimes not going to university can be the best option for one of students or another. So I have been there myself, so I would like to help as many people as I can to avoid this, basically.
Ahmed, let's talk a little bit about some of the services that you provide at Univer, because I want to set the context for the conversation that we're about to have. What are the services that you provide, you and your team? And specifically, how do you help national UAE youth?
Yeah, of course. So the main service that we help the students with is guidance and counseling. We start usually with understanding, hearing the students and sometimes parents, getting parents on board, understanding their plans, their dreams, and try to put them on the right path to continue to achieve their dream. We provide them information about different education systems around the world, entry requirements for different universities, safety, living in different countries, especially for students who are planning to study abroad. I know that many students, and especially the nationals, would stay in the country, but for the ones who are traveling, we always try to give them the latest information about that specific country, city, and university that they are planning to join. Uh, this is kind of the main business, and then we then connect students with the university with the right contacts through different tools. The kind of the events that we do, physical events, virtual events, webinars, seminars, and others. And also we try from time to time to connect the students with current students at the university who will be able to share their experience, how they did it, are they enjoying what they are doing now? Because we know that the dropout rate here in the MENA region is really high in the university students. So we try also, one of the key missions at Univer is to help reducing this mission. We are also going hopefully to be part of Intilaqa program, which is managed by the Ministry of Education in UAE. It's a program that actually at the same kind of mission we have, planning to help national students to prepare well to join the top universities locally and internationally as well.
Fantastic. I love that you're really specializing in on the needs of that national student. I know this is one of the challenges that I've seen with students from the region is that they feel that the university guidance sometimes that they're given is too generic and doesn't really help them because there are so many opportunities for a national student here in the UAE. And of course, we're going to be talking about those. So I want you to imagine having a conversation with me, of course, but I'm going to be wearing several hats as I ask you these questions. One will be the hat of a student who is from the UAE and is very curious about the journey and the requirements, maybe because the school doesn't really provide that kind of support. Maybe they want more individual support, or maybe they're just curious and want to learn a little bit more. Of course, the national parents who might be watching this thinking, I don't know how to help my child. No one really helped me when I was at school. This is very new to me. Or even a counselor in a school who might not really understand the requirements that are different for a UAE national student. So, as I wear all those hats and I ask you this very first question, I know it's going to be hard to kind of hone in on those three lenses, but we'll try our best. So my first question, which is always my most, I don't know, I think it's my most tapped into question, and that's how young should a UAE national student be to begin this process?
I would say grade 9 to 10 should be the ideal stage for not only for nationals, but for most of the students, because especially, I mean, as you said, I mean, this is kind of a wide topic that can take us into further conversations, but uh, this, for example, will depend on which school system the student is. Because if he is or she is in a British school or American school or a local school, that will be totally different. Because in a British school, they need to prepare from grade 9, 10 to what subjects they would like to take, for example, in grade 11 and 12 and 13. The same if they are in IB school, they need to prepare well if they are planning to study medicine or physics or whatever after the school. It's totally different case if they are at the local system. I mean, there is like the general stream and the advanced stream. So again, we have faced many cases with the students at the grade 12 or at the graduation class, and they find out that they cannot continue to their dream school or subject because they didn't take the right subjects. And that was basically because they didn't have the right direction at that time, 2 or 3 years back. So I think uh, 3 to 4 years before graduation is the right start to start opening their minds of at least where they would like to go. Maybe starting with a college, business, engineering, medicine, and then start to narrowing their options.
So I know, and I love that you brought up those different curriculums because I do think it is not a one size fits all in the UAE. There's so many different curriculums, and those are only a couple that you named really. But for a young person wanting to go through the system, because I know that the UAE nationals have to go through a specific portal to be able to apply, and also to be able to apply for the scholarship programs that they might be able to gain. What are the subjects that, regardless whether they like them or they don't, they have to take them if they want to go through that portal?
I mean, I would say mathematics is number one subject that they have to take, regardless of what they would like to study. Because I mean, law. Some people, some students will think, well, law, I will be lawyer, and at the court, I don't need to have mathematics. But actually, mathematics is number one that universities will look at and they will consider for people who applying for law, because mathematics means critical thinking, how you have this skills. So this is number one. And I know, I mean, from my experience and overview of the different systems, uh, all the kind of the schools will give the students like physics, chemistry, and biology, for example. But this will be different from the advanced stream to the general stream on how heavy that subject could be. So I think these are the main subjects that they need to consider which one that will take me to my uh, planned or dream subject or school. I mean, university after the high school. Uh, but definitely they have just to take it early as they can, because sometimes it really can cost them another year or two, uh, which is the case of repeating the high school or maybe doing A level, accelerating A level, for example, to meet the requirements of medicine in the UK or pre-law in the USA and whatever. Uh, as you said, I mean, each student is different and each system is different. So this need to be a tailor-made guidance program at each school. I know this cannot happen overnight, but we need, as a community, as people working on this field, to try to achieve this as soon as we can.
So we talked, or you talked about applying to universities abroad, but let's talk about the UAE system. Can a national student just apply directly to university and still get the scholarship from the UAE government, or do they need to apply through a different platform?
There are, I think, the government schools, I mean, government universities, sorry, and a few selected UAE universities. A student, as a national student, they need to apply through the NABO, the National Admission System. And for other universities, they can apply directly to the university and then apply for the scholarship through the portal. But definitely for the government universities like Zayed University, UE University, and the higher colleges of technologies, they have to apply through the portal.
And so for a student that wants to apply abroad, they want to go to the US, the UK, they apply just like all the other students would using UCAS, Common App, or directly to that university. Now, how do they then apply for their scholarship with the UAE government? Is there an extra process that they need to do that they should be aware of? And I ask you this question because Many students in international schools are not being given this guidance, and then they get to their application process and suddenly they realize they missed the NAPO deadline, and then they can't apply for that scholarship.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. And we have seen this. So the students, as a national students looking to study abroad and to get the scholarship by the government, they have to start with an ABO application and to mention their intention to study abroad. What will happen during the academic year, the ministry will give them okay, you have been given a scholarship to study business, for example, in the UK, and this is the list of universities which are approved by the ministry to study at. Then the next step will be the student will go out either directly or through one of the local consultants to gain an offer from one of these universities. And once that happens, they will go back to NABO, upload that offer, and their scholarship will be finalized.
That's fantastic. So, for any parent watching this that might not really understand the process, can a parent help their child through this, or is it required that they reach out to an advisor or expect that the school provide the service for them?
I mean, to be honest, is very easy. And the ministry on their website and in different occasions, they do training for students and for counselors about how to fill NABO. There is always like a PDF guide. There is always videos for students and counselors how to fill and complete the NABO application. But if that wasn't the case, I mean, it was hard for them to fill it. I'm sure the school counselor or administrators will be able to help. And as you would know, there are many counselors outside the schools, private counselors who will be able to help with this. So there there is no problem in filling out the NABO. It's about the starting at the right time. And I'm sure they will find many sources and many helpful people to take them through the process.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about the boys. In the UAE, there is national service. What does a young student who has to do national service, what should they be aware of if they are going to be applying to university after they graduate from high school or secondary school?
I think what they can actually do while they are doing the national service is exploring the options and preparing. Maybe they can actually start applying to universities, securing their offers. So once they are done with the national service, they will have this ready and start the NABO service or the NABO application to gain the scholarship. Because in many cases, the national service will end up like by September, October, between this kind of time. And many students, if they will start only after they finish the national service, it will take them another maybe year to start the university. But actually, if they are starting this process while they are doing the national service, this will save them time. And there is, for example, an exhibition that takes place each year in Abu Dhabi that bring all these students who are joining the national service and give them the opportunity over 2 to 3 days to meet with universities to give them advice early on the academic year, sometimes by March, April each year. So they will have all the information they need before even they finish the national service.
So, for anyone watching this that wants to attend, how do they sign up? Where do they have to go to find out about this event?
Uh, I mean, I don't have the name on top of my head now, but I can provide the link for that event. But usually it will take place in Abu Dhabi Exhibition Center. And all of the government universities will be there. Many international universities and local education consultants will take place at that event. So I can provide this information later on if it's possible, but definitely it's happening every year.
Fantastic. Okay, Ahmed, let's talk a little bit about what a young person should be preparing for before the application process. So, first you said for them to explore those subjects. Then you said for them to start exploring the types of degrees they might want to take. But if they are applying through NAPO, what are the courses that they should not be taking right now that are still not approved by the ministry?
Yeah, I mean, because the list of approved programs or universities is kind of change every year. Sometimes they add new universities or they remove some universities. So this is very critical and important for students, for national students, to have a look at the latest information. Again, it will be always available at the ministry website. And if they don't find it, they can always reach out to their school or the outside counselors. So because sometimes they may waste time and even pay some money for education consultants to get them some offers, and they will find out this is not approved university anymore for different reasons. Can be for ranking, for academic excellence, or maybe reaching a target by the ministry. So this is very important thing that they need to think about. And also, although this could be a minor issue, but in international universities, there are some programs, especially when we are talking about nursing, pharmacy, and this kind of fields. There are some programs are only for local students in these countries, like UK for UK students, USA for US nationals. So students need to do the right research that these are programs for international students, and they will be able to study and they will be able to maybe gain training or internship during their studies at the university. So I would say this is the most important considerations for the students to take into account when they are starting the application process.
Fantastic. Can you give us that website for anybody watching this that might not be aware of the NAPO website?
Yeah, the website, it's Ministry of Education, like MOE dot AE, which is the Ministry of Education website, and they just there is Arabic version and English version. They can find the approved universities outside UAE, and there is like list based on the subjects like political science, business, engineering, and so on.
Wonderful. Ahmed, if you can give us some tips, you worked with young people for so many years now. You must have seen young people come in really excited and then feel a little disappointed because either they didn't meet the deadlines or they felt overwhelmed because there was so much to do. What are some of your tips to help a young person and to help a parent as they're beginning this process at the beginning of the new academic year?
Uh, Start early and keep an eye on the deadlines, especially for entry admission exams. This is some of the major issues that students face, especially the ones who are planning to study abroad, because and we are when we are talking about IELTS, for example, or TOEFL, the ones who are going to study in the UK, USA, they come, and we have students now, for example, they were planning to join a university by September, but they didn't have the IELTS result, or they even didn't sign up for IELTS for one reason or another. So there is time. I mean, even if the students start only by the beginning of a grade 12 or the beginning of their final year at the school, there is enough time for them to search and apply for universities and find out about the accommodation and secure the scholarship. But most importantly, that they need to keep an eye on the deadline, shortlist their programs, and try to communicate as early as they can with the universities to understand if there are any additional requirements, any additional documents that they need to provide. And also, one very important information is about the accommodation. Students tend to leave it until the last minute, and usually they will not find their best choice at the university accommodation. I mean, we have seen example of some universities who cannot offer students on-campus accommodation because of the increasing number of arrivals. So this is very important for students who are planning to study abroad. Uh, we know that feeling good, having the right accommodation will help students to excel in their studies. And the other way will be if they don't find, a close accommodation, especially for female students. So I would say starting earlier and talking to universities as early as they can, understanding the environment that they are going to live in, will help them decide better and end up in the most, I would say, best fit institution for them.
Wonderful. So much to think about. On the one hand, a young person is thinking, I'm applying to university, but as an international student, if they are traveling abroad, there's accommodation, there's visa, there's scholarship, there's transportation, there's so many other details. What about if they're living in the UAE and they want to stay in the UAE? I think UAE universities are gaining more recognition. The country is an amazing place for a teenager to stay and to stay a little bit closer to home, but also be able to be given that independence. Do universities in the UAE offer accommodation, or are students required to live off of campus?
Course, they do. And as you said, if for students who are planning to stay in the country, the stress will be less. In Ras Al Khaimah, for example, requirements for that university, but many universities, if not all, offer on-campus accommodation, like AURAC in Ras Al Khaimah, Al Ain in Abu Dhabi, Sorbonne in Abu Dhabi, University of Dubai in Dubai, and Zaid University. All kind of universities offer on-campus accommodation for students who would like, or who are coming maybe from somewhere other than their current emirate or city. So this is not an issue at all. But I think, and I would advise a student who might be willing to stay in country to try to study at a university that a little bit far away from their hometown, because this will help them to gain, some skills as they would be studying abroad. This will enhance their skills and their abilities to have an independency in their life and in their career. This will help to open more opportunities for them to work during the university studies, or even after that.
So exciting. I'm really, really excited for national students and UAE residents who want to stay in the UAE. And of course, there are so many opportunities. As a parent, how should I, let's say I'm a parent and my child comes to me and really wants to go abroad, but as a parent, I'm concerned about sending them abroad and I want them to stay in the UAE, or maybe vice versa. What's some of your tips for a parent as they're helping their children on this process? And I ask you that because I think sometimes parents are afraid of where they don't know and how they can send their children. But with your experience of parents who have let children go abroad or let children stay here, what are some of your tips to help them through this process?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if the travel abroad itself is not an issue for a parent, and they are only, afraid of their child being alone for the first time, there are some really nice options nowadays in UAE, with some international universities, branch campuses of international universities from UK, USA, Australia, where their child can start for the first couple of years, and then either they just like it and they will stay. Actually, they just forget about traveling abroad, or actually they can transfer after 2 years to the home country of that university, and then they will be more mature, and parents will have more confidence of sending them abroad. The other option also is either during the high school, like the last 3 years of the high school, if they can allow their child to travel for the summer course for a few weeks or a couple of months, they will be able to see if their child are actually prepared to live alone, to study alone, or no. And also there is the opportunity of the exchange opportunity at the local schools. A student can spend 1 or 2 semesters at a partner university, could be in France, in Brazil, or USA, or China. I think this will give the student the opportunities that he was looking at to study abroad for a while, and also for their parents. I think this will be a better option, easier option for them. They are not living the whole life, the whole 4 years. And I think this is where parents sometimes prefer for their students to study in home country at the bachelor level, and then for master or PhD, of course, they can study abroad. But I think there are many options nowadays that they can have this kind of mixed experience. And even like for UK students who are applying to foundation year, there are also foundation programs nowadays in UAE. The students can start the foundation until they are, have confidence to travel abroad. And this sometimes actually will save them some money, I mean, in terms of accommodation and living cost.
Wonderful. Ahmed, there's so much to talk about, but I can see that we're really coming to the end of this time together. If we could leave our parents and our counselors and our students with one last tip, what would that be?
I would say each student is different, and this is an advice for a counselor, for a parent, and most importantly for students. Don't compare yourself or your child or your students with another. Give them the right and the dedicated guidance and attention, and I'm sure they will excel in their future.
Wonderful, wonderful advice. I think it's so important as this new academic year begins that we remember the journey isn't about comparing our children to other people's children, although it feels almost it feels like almost on autopilot that children compare themselves. And I think when we're in a system of education where we're given a grade or we apply to university where there's a grade involved, it's almost a natural process of comparing yourself. But as you said, everybody is different, and this is a journey, and it's a long journey. It's a career
It
journey
is.
of one's life. So really take that time, and I would say enjoy this process. I know it's a very stressful process, especially in that graduating year. But Ahmed, don't you agree that it's a very exciting milestone for a family to be taking? For many parents who may never have gone to university, or for many children who are going to be traveling abroad the first time, it's a really exciting experience. And I think sometimes we forget how exciting it can be and we get bogged down on those deadlines, on that pressure, and on that stress. What do you think?
Exactly. I mean, it's like a discovery journey. You discover new countries, you meet people from different cultures. Like when you are discovering the options for your students, meeting someone from USA, someone from Turkey, from Malaysia. It's cultural discovery journey, I would say. And at the end, it's about the journey. There is no uh, final stop for the learning process anyway. I mean, it's not going to end by the end of the bachelor degree or master or even PhD. It's a lifelong process.
Definitely. I completely resonate with that. Ahmed, if we are wanting to reach out to you, how can we find you?
Well, there are many ways. The easiest, you can find us on univer.me. You can find our email, WhatsApp, and phone number. We are always available to help students. Of course, available, I would say, 7 days a week. And our team available also to meet students, parents face to face if they prefer a physical meeting than a call or virtual meeting.
And that brings us to the end of another incredible conversation. Today, we were speaking with Ahmad Abu Shaikha, who is the CEO and co founder of Univer. If you are looking for support to help your children through that university application process and your institution is not able to help you, you definitely want to be reaching out to Ahmed and his team. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at my next Let's Talk Careers with Miss B.